If you love liberty, declare your independence by signing the Shire Society Declaration at shiresociety.com.
You would have it being less wild because things would be more local. And again, a New Hampshire-based, say the New Hampshire Party Poker New Hampshire or whatever, that doesn't exist, I'm just making it up. Some kind of online poker based in New Hampshire that's advertising in New Hampshire has an incentive not to be, defrauding people that are making deposits and shutting down overnight and stealing people's money, where, that does happen in other countries around the world. So this may not be the perfect bill, but I see this as an absolute step in the right direction.
I think that to follow up on Eric's point there, we talked about this concept of the Wild West as people perceive it. When we think about these online poker companies that are, or online gambling companies in general, these are publicly traded companies on like the UK stock exchange. It's not like James's online poker company where you can come in and give me your money and I'll keep it forever. Which actually, but again, does happen already. Like as someone who has lost, several $1,000s to irreputable companies overseas, I can tell you that making a friendlier environment here in the U.S. would be, in my opinion, again, just a big incremental step. Because again, I'm pretty worldwide when it comes to this sort of thing. I'm very unlikely to be taken or duped at this point, but I'll tell you that many of the people who get involved in this are not. They'll just get involved and deposit their money because, hey, if you can take my money, it must be reputable, but it's simply not.
If I understand what the two of you said thus far, if this bill were to pass, the state would earn something.
Sure.
In revenue. Plus, the citizens of the state would be better protected.
I believe that's true.
Because they would have recourse right here within the state, as opposed to some federal organization. So why shouldn't this bill pass?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I'm obviously coming from it from a perspective of someone who's thought about this actively almost every day for 14 years. So, it's hard for me to even put myself in the mindset of why it would be a bad idea to bring this above board and simply, acknowledge that it happens. I guess, again, the people that are out there are concerned that this makes it possible for people who shouldn't be gambling online to do so. And I'm simply here to tell you that they are gambling online all the time and getting taken advantage of. So I don't know. I don't know why this bullshit. I hear other people's concerns. And again, I know as the Ways and Means Committee, you all probably have different goals and thoughts on a bill like this than I do, right? My goal is not to come here and help you all make the state of New Hampshire more money. That's not my goal is to come here and just share the reality of the situation as it stands right now, and hopefully to pose to you all, do you think that New Hampshire citizens will be better off as a result of bringing these businesses above board? And I can't find any reasonable argument that they wouldn't be. So that's why I'm taking my time and a day off to come talk to you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
Representative Burns.
Thanks for taking my question.
Of course.
I have had two boys in college. They graduated about 8 and 10 years ago. And I remember back
the heart of the
10 years ago, it was boys who, not only my kids, but all their friends in their dormitories and so forth, who used to be out playing basketball and doing stuff outside their dorm, would spend hours online gambling until, and consuming every last nickel that they had. And I just remember the frenzy sometimes when I'd go down and visit and see kids who were just panic stricken that they'd lost, everything they had. Were trying to borrow money from all their friends. What's your commentary on it? You had to have experienced some of that kind of. I'm not sure whether I'm seeing this as a way of protecting them, or is it a way of just creating a new generation of problem gamblers? So
that's a great question. So I'll give you more background on me. Is that my other life since then I've managed to start a summer camp. So I'm very in tune with wanting to get people outside and have a wide range of hobbies and so on. I'll say that most of the online business or online poker boom came from something that was once seen as something done by cowboys in the Wild West, as to now possible for the average Joe to do, right? I think that was the marketing plan in the mid-2000s. And it was very popular and it was very much a fad, but it's also very hard to gamble profitably. Basically, no one can do it. And when it appeared as though everyone could come and there was all this, it was a big gold rush sort of attitude, there were a lot of people who jumped in with 2 feet and it didn't go very well for them. But since then, it's just not as cool, it's like people, this isn't a really, like even in New Jersey when they rolled it out, they anticipated being able to recapture all that, the fervor of the mid-2000s, and it didn't happen, $200 million in the state of New Jersey in 2017 is a small fraction of what the business that was being done in the mid-2000s. And so I would say that the average kid today, and again, kids would not be able to play because they would be restricted based on the federal restrictions around online or gambling in general, and particularly online gambling. So like a lot of the people, your friends, your kids' friends in college and stuff, probably wouldn't even be able to play if they regulated based on the same way most casinos do, which is for kids 21 and older.
Okay, can I have a follow-up, please?
Follow-up.
And the next thing would be that I oftentimes heard them lamenting that the games were fixed, that there's a shill player in these games. In the offshore operators, do they have shill operators in there who are going to always end up with a better hand than
good question.
Than you, or is that just kids who are trying to find an excuse for why they lost all their money?
So speaking of the fairness of the contest, I think this is actually really relevant because when if we all played a poker game here in person, we could see each other, and cheating would be pretty difficult. And whereas online, obviously, some of those safeguards are not as obvious. What most of the online gambling operators, the procedures they have in place are, first of all, they're audited by third parties in most cases to prevent player-to-player collusion, because that's the biggest risk, right? Is if you and I sit down at a table and decide we want to cheat, it's tough online for people to notice that. But since they have so much more data than live games, they're actually able to, find the patterns that are coherent with cheating, and so they're actually become much better in the last, call it 10 years at figuring stuff like that out. Because offshore, there were many companies who were found to have either loopholes or people were cheating. Yeah, that did happen in some of these offshore companies. Again, since it's in the countries where it's become above board, these huge companies, PokerStars, Party Poker, things like that, it simply doesn't happen anymore because they have a huge vested interest in stopping it. Again, they'll all go to jail. And then you know who they are. Their names are on the placards of an office in downtown London. Like they're not people in Antigua who are operating out of some basement and hoping to cut and run at some point. So the answer is it's a more friendly environment today, but there are still a lot of very unfriendly operators that you can go get involved in if you don't have access to the friendly ones. But of course, the federal regulations have stopped U.S. citizens from using the safe companies. You know what I mean? So like in New Hampshire, you can't play on Party Poker because they don't want to get in trouble with the feds because their CEO was locked up 10 years ago or 15 years ago or whatever. So unfortunately, now we have a much less safe environment. Is the short answer.
May I have one more follow-up, please?
One more, then we're ready.
Yeah. When you mentioned that they would be in trouble with the feds, I guess that is the question. Comes back to the very first question I got asked of the first the sponsor was, isn't this in direct violation to federal law?
It's not actually, because and this is my understanding, not a lawyer, but the federal law, the Unlawful Internet Gaming Enforcement Act, actually is in place to prevent banks from doing business with offshore gambling interests specifically. I think the intention behind that bill was to make it so people didn't get cheated and to prevent money laundering. Those were the two major goals behind that bill. And so obviously on sites, because it used to be, I'll tell you that there have been times where a friend of mine would send me $40,000 online in an instant through these offshore poker companies. This is still possible, by the way. So you just send 40,000 here, 50,000, it just happened, you know. With the above board reputable companies, of course they don't allow you to do that. And so the major concerns, funding terrorism, all sorts of things like that, just don't exist in the current online poker marketplace. And New Jersey, again, has done this completely above board, advertisements on the billboards, along the railway station lines, and it's a fine thing to do as long as you don't specifically cut against the UIGEA, which is the transferring money offshore.
Okay, any more questions from Mr. Davis? Representative Martin.
Thank you. Just one quick one, and you may have answered this, but this is actually for you and Eric regarding potential expert projections.
Yeah.
Assume the proper regulations and safeguards are put in place. New Jersey, I just did a little bit of research.
Okay.
New Jersey looks like it has collected more than $66 million in tax revenue from
Okay.
online gaming since 2013. So say
Okay. So call
about
it 15 million a
22
year.
million a year. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So what would you, Eric, or expert analysts that you've consulted, project tax revenues for New Hampshire?
Yeah, I mean, I can't
from the
imagine,
source?
I would imagine it just would go strictly along the population lines, right? So I don't know how New Hampshire's population compares to New Jersey. I just don't have that information at the ready to probably figure it out. But I can't imagine it would be anything other than what they've noticed, you know. I'll say I'm from New Jersey originally. New Jersey doesn't really, outside of Atlantic City specifically, there's not a big gambling culture in New Jersey. So I don't suspect there was one in New Hampshire either.
Okay, so no projections.
Yeah. I will say that the types of, one other thing is that people wonder who the types of people are that gamble online. There was a study done on that, and they found that the average person who gambles online is a male between the ages of 25 and 45 with an average of about $70,000 in disposable income, or not disposable, that's their salary, who makes an average of $70,000 a year. So it wasn't the, you know, again, the destitute person on their last penny or anything. It was just people with some disposable income who wanted to make some money or have fun.
Thank you for your testimony.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. I'm happy to, if someone talked about sending maybe a follow-up with some additional information or, you know, things in a more coherent manner, I got some contact info, so hopefully I'll you don't want this because you can't even read my name, so I'll try to get something together and pass it along.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there.
Next up, we have Ian Freeman from Keene, representing the New Hampshire Liberty Party in support of the bill.
Good morning. I'm Ian Freeman from Keene, one of the co-chairs of the New Hampshire Liberty Party. Support this bill. It seems common sense that New Hampshire, as the live free or die state, should allow people to make decisions about how they spend their time and how they spend their money. In fact, in my opinion, the bill doesn't go far enough. What we need to see happen here is a total legalization of gambling across the board. The fact is, you know, people who want to gamble are going to gamble. And you really can't stop them with any amount of lawmaking. And obviously we already have some legal gambling here with, you know, the poker rooms where 50% of the proceeds go to charity. Certainly giving some of the money to charity isn't really going to do anything to stop a gambling addict from doing their thing. So let's expand freedom. I think this bill is a step in the right direction. Thanks for listening.
Any questions for Representative Owen?
Yeah, I just want to kind of argue the other side of that. The testimony we heard today was basically people are doing this anyway, so let's legalize it.
Right.
Some of the stuff people are doing anyway may not be appropriate for legalization, in my opinion. Would you contest that?
Well, I would say that whatever somebody wants to do, as long as they're not harming someone else, shouldn't be illegal. If we have a limited amount of police resources, and we do, I would prefer the police spend their time on issues like, you know, real crimes with victims, say murder, rape, arson, property destruction. I'd rather not have them, I believe it was Maine, not New Hampshire, I forget which state it was, but a couple of years ago they cracked down on a VFW hall. The Veterans of Foreign Wars were organizing a little poker game, and the police decided to intervene with that. And it's just, come on, leave people alone. They're not hurting anybody else. If no one's getting scammed, if no one's being ripped off, we don't have a crime here. We've got consenting adults having fun and doing what they want, and that should be the New Hampshire way.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Anybody else wish to testify for or against House Bill 562-FN? Seeing none, I'm close the public hearing on House Bill 562.
We'd like to invite you to visit freekeene.com. Freekeene.com features audio, video, and blogs chronicling the transition to a voluntary society. Freekeene.com also has comments and discussion forums so you can be heard. Freekeene.com.
I should be in Keene, New Hampshire with the Free Staters.